Right, a little earlier than normal because we're off earlier at 5 for White Sox baseball. And it's all brought to you by Circus Sports Illinois. It's the only place I play now. I just looked at the Bears line. They're now -4. So, there were many shops that had them at -4.5. Get them at -4. I also checked Caleb Williams' regular season passing yards. I got them earlier in the year at over 3,550. I told you after one of his performances in the preseason, it went up to 3,600. It is back down to 3,550. So if you want to hop on now's a good time to get the total, because I think he's going to surpass 3,550 in passing yards.
I agree.
I think he's good for 3,800, and I think that's playing conservative. So especially this is all in the context of staying healthy, at least for the bulk of the season. So over 3,550, I like that bet a lot. Circus Sports Illinois, download it today. Tyler.
All right, Silvy, you teased before the break talking about Hard Knocks, and let's just go around the room. What was your final impression of what you saw in the season finale of Hard Knocks?
I think the newsiest stuff was that the Bears told us in Hard Knocks that they could have traded Velus Jones. While many of us wanted to have them cut Velus Jones, they could have traded him, but Ryan Poles would not take anything worse than a 4th-round pick. So this is going to be very interesting to see play out. Maybe he helps them, and we'll all eat our words, the ones who thought that he shouldn't have a spot on this team, especially when you have draft capital on the line. I love that they took you behind the scenes. They showed you how they cut. They showed you that they care about their players. Which is great. I know it's all about winning, but I do believe that this culture, that they're good at both. And when they're good at both, it's a good place to be. And the Matt Eberflus house was way more spectacular than I ever thought it would be. We were reading on the post-game show yesterday on Dr. Pepper, the listing of the home. He got it that for $3.9 million, has several lakefront frontage, as they call it.
Yeah.
I want to say there's 8.5 bathrooms in there. And then
room for you. Stop by.
Including a place where he keeps his bees.
Yeah, an apiary, right? Isn't that what it's called?
I never knew what it was called.
There may be, you know what, if you make your own or you have your own situation like that, there may be a tax break associated with the property.
Oh, you think so?
I think there is. I'm not going to lie.
Is it because we're saving the earth?
There was a house down the street. It was actually halfway between where I lived and Justin Fields lived, where there was the same thing on this piece of property that you could see from the road, where you could tell there was a beekeeper. And there were 5 stacks. They almost looked like shelves that were all in a row that were 30 yards behind the street line. And they were doing something comparable with bees. And I think you get a tax break from it.
My kids are very, very scared of bees. I know a lot of kids are, but uncharacteristically so. Maybe Matt Eberflus will allow me to take him to his, what is it called?
An aviary? Is it an apiary?
Yeah, you called it something.
What did I call it?
Apiary, I think
that's what it's called.
Maybe maybe they'll get over their fear if the Bears coach helps them out.
I think an aviary is for birds. Apiary, I think, is for bees. Something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, that's correct. APIARY.
And I believe the house, before they moved in, they did some really nice work on it. Because I don't think that driveway was there. And I think the house was painted.
You don't think the E was there when they moved in?
No, it wasn't.
I think that's custom.
Well, right. But I mean, the whole driveway is different. If you see a picture of it from back in the day versus now, they did some really good work.
Did you look at that house at one time?
I've seen. No, I
have not. You did?
No, I did. I did. No, I did not look at it.
Was that your old house?
No, it was not. No, we didn't live in Lake Bluff. We lived in Lake Forest. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised to see that they did take you behind the curtain and they showed you all of this. It's the one thing, I have struggled with their appreciation for Velus. At the end of the day, again, I think it's a rich team's problem unless they keep running him out there and he does things that cost them a number of games and situations. They are so much better in so many other spots. I worry less about him and what he can do that can negatively affect the team. The one thing that I thought 2 weeks ago was they moved him to running back, which is a crowded room, to showcase him to potentially give them the option to trade him if there was somebody out there that was willing to give them something. And wouldn't you know, like you would expect in the NFL, where everybody out there thinks they know your stuff better than you know your stuff, they got an offer. And I mean, knowing that they got an offer, I'm not surprised that they didn't take it, but the whole thing doesn't make sense to me.
I'm surprised. It surprises me.
Yeah, that they got an offer?
No, they got an offer, and then that they would not take anything worse than a 4th-round pick.
Yeah. That's a high value, a 4th-round pick.
Well, like if you get a 5th-round pick again, like I know what Yurko's saying, that they haven't used a lot of those picks on guys.
Oh, they're valuable.
But they have traded for veterans. So if you have an extra pick to trade, even
they used the 5th-round pick to acquire the pass rusher from Seattle, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying. He has 21 and a half sacks in the league.
5th-round picks have value.
And then you got Ryan Bates for a pick. One of those picks, a 5th or a 6th rounder.
My anticipation is going to be that the kid it's Daryl Wilson.
Taylor.
Daryl Taylor.
We had Wilson and Thomas, and it's Taylor.
Well, hopefully we'll know his name. You know, it'll be at the tip of your tongue. Because
you know why Meller knew, don't you? Because it's the same last name as the punter.
Maybe so, yeah. But
my point, Taylor on the team. That's true.
My point is that 5th-round pick you used from next year's draft to acquire this kid from Seattle, I think you're going to get more from him, Daryl Taylor, than you're going to get from Velus.
Oh, of course. You better.
So the value of a 5th-round pick is right there on display. You use the 5th-round pick to bring in a kid that is an accomplished pass rusher.
Yeah, by the way, the Hard Knock Life, powered by the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, partnering with your business to save you money and energy, and also our friends at Dr. Pepper. And thank you to both of those for a great preseason of Hard Knocks discussion. It's in the books, and now we're on to football.
And by the way, as I said earlier, he's not their 50 in their minds. He's not the 53rd guy on their roster. They have intentions of using him.
I agree with you. What's next, Tyler?
All right. Speaking of Velus Jones, I agree. I thought that was the most revealing thing that we found out last night during Hard Knocks. Not only does it sound like, well, he's a lock to be on 2024, the way they talk about him, he may be a lock to be on the roster in 2025. I ask you guys, what percentage would you put it at that he is on this team beyond this year?
Wow. I mean, I don't even know how to begin to formulate an answer.
He's got to do something.
Right.
Like, if he doesn't do anything this year.
Tyler, if he finds a way, if Ryan Poles and his crew is right, and Chad Morton and they're right, and we're just completely wrong, and he's a difference maker, well, then the odds are 100%. If he costs them a game, it's and you heard Ryan Poles talk about it. It's time to win now. You know, to allow him to make mistakes in a year like last year when you weren't expecting to get to the postseason is one thing. It's not acceptable then. It's even less acceptable now. So if he starts to make a mistake or two that costs them dearly, then the I would say
it's time to win.
Yes, and
that was great too. That the Ryan Poles saying it's time to win.
The one thing I'll say, guys, is he's still 2025. You know, his rookie contract extends that will be the final year. So I don't even think he just needs to not be awful. And I could see him being on the roster for one season in 2025.
Well, when does production matter? And not being awful, like you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're right, but like I think that's the
what's the best thing you can say about player X. He's not awful. He's not awful.
But they look at him and Chad Morton singing his praises in that clip. He's like, "You're explosive in the backfield." They're talking about him running inside the tackles. I mean, it's from you based on what they showed us yesterday. Don't be surprised if he leads the team in rushing.
You know what's interesting as well? Had Ian Wheeler not got hurt, I'm not sure how much run he would have gotten at running back.
You wonder because they like Wheeler.
And look, I did some of my best work against other teams' threes in the fourth and final preseason game. But like in terms of evaluating things, you take it into consideration. And you heard Ryan Poles talk about it. He talked about guys and how their production would be affected when you step up in class. And when he mentioned that, it was about, hey, when you're not playing against backups in preseason, how is this guy going to project?
Yeah.
So I got to be honest with you, and I'm guilty as everybody. I think we spent a ton of time, way too much time talking about Velus Jones, and I can't wait to move on from Velus Jones and talk more about guys that actually are going to have a significant impact on the outcome of most of these games.
It's probably good, like an umpire, like an offensive lineman. If we're not talking about Velus Jones, then maybe he's not making a mistake.
I wish I punch her in the face.
By the way, that was from last night, by the way.
He wanted to punch the umpire in the face?
Hunter Wendelstedt.
Look at how fat he is. He should be embarrassed and wear that uniform.
That was yesterday after a 9-0 game, by the way.
I'm just glad Ozzie could still find the fire after watching, what was it now, 110 losses?
But they're still entertaining.
Of course they are. They're the best part of the White Sox.
That happened on NBC Sports Chicago, by the way. And kudos to all those guys who work there. The run is ending, and all those people behind the scenes, in front of the camera, whatever jobs they've done for 20 years, they've really done great work.
Done a great job.
It's been a one-stop shop for all of our teams at one point, but really, really good. But Hunter Wendelstedt was terrible behind the plate, even though they were down 9-0 late in the game. And Grady Sizemore got thrown out.
Good for him.
And then Ozzie was telling the story when he was in the big leagues, that was the first umpire to throw him out of a game.
Was Hunter Wendelstedt?
Yes.
Or his dad?
No, and he said to him that you're nowhere near as good as your dad.
Really?
I think that's what got him to get thrown out.
By the way, the ump show was on full display early in the first inning on the north side as well. When that dude stepped off, took his mask off, when Paul Skeens thought he had gotten out of the inning and stepped a couple steps off the mound, and the umpire behind the plate took his mask off and started chirping.
They're ready. Yeah, that's what Hunter did yesterday too. He wanted to fight.
By the way, did you see when Grady Sizemore got tossed, when he's coming out of the dugout, you see him reach inside his lip, pull his zin out, flip his zin out?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's the Zen?
It looked like it, yeah.
Why did he want to take that out? So you could,
not spit,
hard
maybe?
to scream at people with a zin in?
Or maybe you're spitting?
You might swallow it too.
Ooh.
I don't think that would be very pleasant.
Well, you know what? Good for Grady Sizemore. If he saw his guys were getting squeezed or the plate call was horrible, get out there and defend your guys, even in a 9-zip situation.
I don't know if you have any Sox questions, Tyler, but while we're on the subject, Waddle asked yesterday, and we got to do this. Like tomorrow we have a full ride. Maybe we'll have time for calls on this. Like, what is your
favorite bad Sox moment?
Or like not necessarily moment, because I thought yesterday's collision on Eloy popping it up, ironically,
to be something that people see all the time.
Yeah, and the truth is, if you have great stuff, you can challenge over the white part of the plate a little bit more and let your stuff just play. If you don't, you better figure out.
Oh, no! Oh, my goodness. The White Sox have just gone full White Sox. And Eloy Jimenez pop-up ends in a collision. Miguel Vargas is down with his face in his glove. 3 runs have scored.
Like, what are the chances, too, that play happens when Eloy is batting?
This year for the White Sox, probably,
he was on the White side.
Yeah.
Like, it's so spectacular that happened when he was hitting. And like this, I was thinking more of that's the moment for sure, because that's the White Sox, as everyone has said, in a nutshell. But like the stat, like again, this 12-game losing streak now, it's the 3rd time that they have lost at least 12 games in a row in a season. The last team that lost 3 times of at least 12 games was in 1899. The Spiders, I believe. And then
Cleveland Spiders.
The Cleveland Spiders. And I believe a decade before that, the only other team to do it was like the Louisville Colonels. We have to go back to the 1800s to have other teams have at least 3 12-game losing streaks.
I think you have to go back to the 1900s as well, like 19-something, to find a pitcher who has lost, the team has lost 20 consecutive starts. I think
this was the 1800s.
Chris Flexen, yes.
No, I know, but I'm saying like you're going back 100+ years on a number of different issues.
This was my favorite. Someone tweeted this to me yesterday, that there's a good chance now that the White Sox in the COVID year, when they played 60 games, will have won more games than they do this year in a 162-game season. In the 60-game COVID season, the White Sox were 35-25. They won 35 games. They have 31 wins this year. They may not win 35 games in a 162-game season. That, to me, is one of the craziest of all of them.
Yeah, Miguel Vargas' stat line since joining the Sox. Wasn't he the prized trade component? He's batting 130 or 122 with a 240 on base percentage, slugging 195 for a robust 435 OPS.
He just needs at bats.
Yeah,
weren't we told he just needs at bats?
Yeah. Think about that. The Colonels and the Spiders, they probably had players that fought in the Civil War.
It's great. They were reading the names on Greeny's show from those teams because the old-timey baseball names. There were two guys on, I think, either the Spiders or the Colonels whose first name was Farmer. Like there was one
Farmer
guy.
Jim.
It was Farmer, like Farmer Jim and Farmer. No, like the first name was Farmer. It was like Farmer Vaughn and Farmer something. Their first names were Farmer.
The 1899 Spiders had Sport McAllister.
Yeah, Sport McAllister's another good one.
Yeah, Sporto.
Sporto. Baseball's been around for almost 150 years
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to set a record?
It's incredible.
White Sox making history every night, boys.
The
Only
worst
place you can hear them, ESPN 1000.
of all those years, the White Sox are going to be they may be the worst sports team of all time. Not just the base of all the years of baseball, of all the seasons of playing sports. This White Sox team may be the worst of every single one of them.
And like I said, people are going to pack the stadium for the final home series.
Are
right?
they? Are they going to?
That's what I keep hearing. We're going to go there and cheer for them to break records or to cheer on their ineptitude. And you're just going to ring the cash register.
One more. The 1899 Spiders had a pitcher and left fielder named Crazy Schmidt.
Of course.
Schmitty
was crazy.
Born in Chicago.
Yeah, Schmitty was crazy.
Everyone had a crazy
and
Schmitty
that's not
in
a
their
nickname.
life.
That's his real name.
Yeah,
Crazy
of course
Schmidt.
it is.
No, it wasn't. His real name was Crazy.
He has no listed name other than Crazy.
What
That's
were the
crazy.
farmer names?
He's buried at Mount Greenwood Cemetery.
Which is where? Mount
In
Greenwood?
Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Where do you have the farmer names that Greeny was talking about?
Looking for that. That might be on the Colonels.
That could be on the Louisville Colonel team.
I got the 1899 Cleveland Spiders stats up here. See some of these guys. I got a Joe and a Tommy and a Joe and a Harry and a Suitor and a Dick and a Sport and
An
a
Otto.
Tommy. What
Otto
else? I have a
Kruger.
Lave Cross.
Otto, that was like of the golden years of Ottos, weren't they?
OC Schrenenghost is your catcher. Otto. Yeah,
I believe it's pronounced Schreckengast.
Schreckengast.
Aussie.
Ozzy.
All
Crazy.
right.
You're
Oi,
right.
oi, oi.
There's a Kid Carsey. I got Kid Carsey. He's throwing you.
Kid Carsey does sound like a really a good pitcher.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a middle reliever on a bad baseball team.
Really?
Yeah, on like a bad NL West team.
How about one of your starters is Harry Collinflower? He gets the ball right after Crazy Schmidt the day after.
You do not want Harry Cauliflower.
No, you don't. That's a condition.
You send it back.
Yeah.
You return that to
Ooh,
the store.
Sport McAllister will come in a 7th or 8th inning to give you a few.
I heard Greeny reading these. These are hilarious. All right, coming up next, that's Hockey's A-List. Good stuff. I think you asked one question, Tyler. We may have time for one more coming up next, and then Jeff Joniak's going to join us inside Hallis Hall.
You were listening to Waddle and Silvy.